When your alarm went off this morning, did you immediately get up or did you hit the snooze button? Years ago, a woman called Mel Robbins had the big problem of drinking. She was unemployed and her husband's restaurant was failing. She felt like she had no reason to get up in the morning, so she didn't. She had a chronic habit of hitting the snooze button to avoid facing her problems. Then one night, she saw a commercial with a rocket ship launching and thought, that's it, that's the answer. She made the decision that the next morning, instead of hitting the snooze button over and over, she would rocket out of that bed like a rocket ship. And she did, just by counting backward. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. After 1, she launched herself out of bed. Later that morning, Robbins hesitated to put on her shoes and go for a run. And in the next moment, she was putting on her running shoes. That afternoon, when she thought of updating her resume, but felt like putting it off, she silently counted to herself, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. In the next moment, she had her laptop open and started updating her resume. After months of 5 seconds countdown, she found a way to get hired for a job as a TV commentator. Her husband found a way to save his restaurant, and she found a way to write her famous book, The 5 Seconds Rule. There are so many people in the world that have these incredible ideas, and what you think is missing is motivation. And that's not true. Because the way that our minds are wired and the fact about human beings is that we are not designed to do things that are uncomfortable or scary or difficult. Our brain is designed to protect us from those things because our brain is trying to keep us alive. And in order to change, in order to build a business, to be the best parent, to do all those things that you know you want to do with your life, with your work, with your dreams, you are going to have to do things that are difficult, uncertain, or scary. Have you ever wondered, why is it so hard to do the little things that would improve my life? We all have a habit of hesitating. You're in the classroom, you have this incredible idea, and instead of just saying it, you stop and you hesitate. What you should realize is that when you hesitate, just that moment, that micro moment, that small hesitation, it sends a stress signal to your brain. And your brain all of a sudden goes, oh wait a minute, why are you hesitating? Then your brain goes to work and protect you. And it has a million different ways to protect you. One of which is called the effect of flight, which is a known phenomenon where your brain increases the risks. Why? To pull you away from something that it's perceived to be a problem. What would change your life is, number 1, waking up and realizing that you're never gonna feel like doing things that are difficult or scary or new or uncertain. So you need to stop waiting until you feel like it. Number 2, you are one decision away from a totally different life. In the scheme of life, hitting that snooze button isn't that big of a deal. What we do is we kind of check out because it feels overwhelming, or we check out because we're afraid, or because we start listening to self-doubt. And then we make these teeny tiny decisions all day long and we don't even realize it. A decision to not get up on time, a decision to not eat the right thing, a decision to not look for a job, a decision to not speak on a meeting. How do you find the power that is in you? How do you discover your greatness? Most people got in the struggle with themselves. You get trapped in what Mel Robbins called in her book, the knowledge-action gap. You know what to do, but you can't seem to make yourself do it. Every one of us is one Google search away from a list of instructions that if you follow any of them, your life will change. But how do you get out of your head and stop thinking about what you need to do and actually do it? When you set goals, when you have an intention and something that you want to change about your life, your brain helps you. It opens up a checklist. Then it goes to work trying to remind you of that intention that you set. And it's really important to develop this skill. The skill of knowing how to hear that inner wisdom and that intention kicking in and leaning into it quickly. You need to change your life. We want change. We want to live a better life. We want to create more for our families. We want to be happier. So the desire is there. Again, it's about how do you go from knowledge to action? Every human being has a 5-second window in which you can move from idea to action before your brain kicks into full gear and sabotages any change in behavior. Our brain can be in 2 modes. There's autopilot, which is the interior part of the brain. It's called the basal ganglia. Its entire job is basically to execute your habits. Now the problem for most of us is that half of the day we are on autopilot, and so we kind of check out. So any behavior pattern that we repeat can take over. And guess what? The behavior patterns that we repeat, they could be thinking patterns like self-doubt, worry, overthinking, or fear. Or behavior patterns like drinking too much or procrastinating. What you should understand is, you're actually not a worrier. You have a habit of worrying. You're not a procrastinator. You simply have a habit of procrastinating. Big difference. The second mode of the brain is drive. It's the mode when you're in charge of your thoughts. It's where you're fully awake, you're present, and you're driving your thoughts and actions. And so your prefrontal cortex is active. The prefrontal cortex is the part that you need in order to learn a new behavior, in order to do something difficult or uncertain, in order to do strategic thinking. What you should understand is that any habit, whether it's a behavior pattern or a thinking pattern, it can actually be interrupted and replaced using a simple trick, the 5 seconds rule. When you count backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, what you're actually doing is you're interrupting the habit loops. It doesn't work if you count up, because counting up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, doesn't require focus. If you search about that rule, you'll see that it's being used all over the place. They use it in the army services in order to align troops and get them to start an exercise. They also use it in elementary schools to get a huge room full of kids to stop talking, because it requires you to focus, it helps you assert control, and it teaches you how to become the kind of person that moves from thinking about something to actually doing it. The moment you feel yourself hesitate, the moment where you feel like you got to step outside of your comfort zone, and you've got to lean into your passion, and you've got to really take some risks and feel the fear. That's the moment where you got a decision to make. Are you gonna drift back into habits, or are you going to awaken your prefrontal cortex and drive forward on focus and do something new?